Testing, testing. Hello everyone. Before I get started, I would like to let you know that we have this QR code above for the program of the service, so feel free to scan that. I'll give you 1 moment to do so. My name is Bev Shevlin, and I'm the Director of Student Life, which is where Corinne worked. So this is all Corinne's family here in the audience. We saw her every day, and now it is very hard without her. I want to thank all of you for coming here today to honor Corinne. My absolute favorite thing about Corinne was that she was nothing but real. There was no filter, there was no bigness with her. She would tell you exactly what was on her heart or on her mind, and I love that about her. I see many head nods in the audience, so I think we're all very familiar with that. Another thing I truly loved about Corinne was that she could do so many things, from fixing students' iPhones to fixing staff computer issues, and could also make flowers for prom and centerpieces. She also was adept at teaching real-world skills to seniors for an after-school program, and was an esports sponsor. So just really a jack of all trades. She could do everything. If you knew Corinne, you know that she loved her systems. Systems and planning ahead, and I mean very far ahead and very in advance. She was very organized and detailed and had a right way to do things. Anytime something went off system, she would somehow end up waiting in my office like this. And I'm sitting there like, oh, what happened? And I really do miss that very much. I will never forget one event, prom. She was in charge of planning everything and having everything work out. We had 150 students all dressed up and ready to hop on the bus. They had their bow ties and their fancy dresses with their hair and nails done. And Corinne was already at the venue, setting everything up, and called me with an emergency. So another school was there. Our venue was double booked, and they had taken over. Can you hand me some water, please? Thank you. And she said, yeah, another public hearing high school is here at our prom venue. And I'm like, we have 150 students ready to get on the bus and get to prom. And I wish you could see her facial expressions in that moment. She is such a person of systems, and that system was so thrown off that day. So we tried to figure out what to do. I told the students what happened, and that another school was there. Again, double booked. I asked the students if they'd want to cancel or host it here on campus, and we decided to still go to the same venue, but just in a smaller room. So we kept the reservation. I told Corinne, and she said, how? How is that going to work? And she made it happen. It was such a wonderful time. And she was pissed off. Don't get me wrong. Her organization, her plan was messed up. She fought that venue for the money back. We got a full refund. So I let her do the negotiating on that. 2 months later, she shows up in my office and she's holding this check. You know how she walks, right? That looks like her, right? So she's got a check for $9,000 in my office, a full refund because of the venue's mistake. And we used that money to allow the students to go to Six Flags on a trip for free to make up for their prom experience. So she liked to make things right. One last thing before I close. After Corinne passed, I had to clean out her work locker. And there were just the little things there. And while going through her things, I came across something that she had forgotten about. A project, a dream of hers. I don't know why, but she wanted to build a dorm Lego set based on the dorm that we have here on campus. She already had the design ready. She already started negotiating with Lego, the corporation, but she was unable to finish that project. So it's on my desk now, and that project has become my project. I will finish it. And I will make sure that the students have the opportunity to build it. Not us, but the students. And I will name that Lego dorm after Corinne. Since she passed, I've learned one thing about her. She loved to give and give and give, not receive. The dorm is not the same without the feisty side of you, Corinne. I will miss you always. Thank you.
Sorry, everybody. It's not easy for me to be standing up here today, so if I start crying, I need to take a break. Just want to say that. So first, I just want to say good afternoon. Thank you all for coming. So my name is Kendra. I'm one of Corinne's closest friends and known her for years and years. So first, I want to say thank you all for being here as we honor and remember the beautiful soul that she was. And it's really hard to believe that we're here and she's not here, and that we're here to talk about her. Corinne was somebody who brought love, laughter, kindness, and light into so many people's lives. She had a way of making people feel seen, valued, and cared for. She would make sure that you were seen. She was that type of person. That's who she was. The memories that we shared together are something that I'll forever cherish and hold close to my heart. What I remember most about Corinne was her spirit, her smile, her strength, and the way that she touched so many lives without realizing it. She had no idea that she made that much of an impact on so many people's lives. But she was really important to everybody. So even though that our hearts are now hurting very deeply, I know that her love and memories will continue to live on through all of us. We'll always carry her memory with us forever. There's no way to stop that. Grief reminds us how deeply we've loved somebody. And Corinne is truly loved by so many. I want to tell you a bit of a story about how Corinne and I met. She actually came into my life about 13 years ago. When I first met, we clicked instantly. We had so much in common. Corinne became such an important part of my life. Corinne was the light to my soul. When I was at my lowest point, she was there for me in a heartbeat and stood by me all the way by my side through my entire journey. She always would make sure that I was okay. And now, over the past 3 years, she was going through a hard time, and I'm very grateful that I was able to do the same thing for her, because she was there for me, and now I was there to be there for her until the day that she passed. I'll most miss, our daily FaceTime calls and texts. I'll especially miss the moments when Corinne, Katie, and I would all be on FaceTime together, the three of us. We would talk every day. Sometimes in the morning we'd have coffee and tea. We'd cook breakfast together on FaceTime. We'd cook dinner together. We'd drive to the airplane. I'd take them both shopping with me. Sometimes, we'd go into Target or Walmart, and I would just be together with her every day on FaceTime. It would, feel like she was just there with us. I'll always cherish her, thinking about the simple things in life. And other things that you might know about Corinne, she was a huge sports fan, especially when it came to football. She would always be talking about fantasy football, talking about her players, mistakes she made with her picks. We both had our rivalries as well, because she was such a loyal San Francisco 49ers fan. And I hated the 49ers. I was a Detroit Lions girl all the way, loyal to Detroit all the way. So, I'll I'll just miss that, because I have some channels that I can watch some games, but I can't watch a lot of the games. And I would actually be able to watch some games with her on FaceTime on her TV, and I'll miss that deeply. So we would talk, and we would talk trash sometimes about sports and our teams, and we would give each other a hard time. But at the end, it was just about love. I mean, we shared the same deep love and passion for football. So during those moments, that laughter, those conversations, that's something that I will always, always, always cherish and carry with me. Something I could never, never forget. And that's one of the hardest parts of all this. I have two children, one who's 15, one who's 13, and both of them absolutely loved Corinne. When I broke the news to both of them, they both broke down crying. That was, they were just in complete shock. And that was her impact. And I mean, they were just in awe of who she was. Her presence meant a lot to us as a family when she was with us. And now, I'm standing here, and, I'm realizing I'm not going to get to watch NFL games with her. And, it's just a realization. I'm not going to be able to FaceTime with her in the mornings when I'm having coffee or tea. I can't text her anymore. And those were the things that have really hit me hard, and really have made me realize and have to accept that she's gone. To Corinne's family, I just want to say, please know that you're surrounded by love, you're surrounded by prayers and support. We're all here mourning together. And also, not just that, we're celebrating a life that meant so much to all of us. I want to say, fly free, Corinne, and we love you. You'll never be forgotten until we meet again.
Thank you everyone for being here. My name is Katie. I'm one of Corinne's best friends. Again, I want to say thank you for coming. And I would like you all to see that how much Corinne was loved. I mean, look around at the people here. Honestly, I don't know how to put into words what Corinne meant to me, because she was so much more than just my best friend. She was like my sister, my safe space, and one of the greatest blessings in my life. Whenever I needed her, she was there, no questions asked. She never hesitated. That was just who she was. She loved people so deeply. She sometimes loved them more than she loved herself. She was not only there for me, but she was also there for my daughter, Brianna. When I became a mother, when I was pregnant, Corinne stepped in beside me and helped me raise her. She loved Brianna like family, and that kind of love is something I will never be able to fully repay or forget. That is the kind of person that Corinne was. Selfless, loving, and always willing to show up for the people she cared about. I remember the first time I met Corinne, which was at Oregon School for the Deaf. I was walking back to the dorm from school, back to the dorm, and she was wearing a black sweater, black skirt, black boots. She asked me my name, and from there we really just hit it off. We became inseparable ever since. We made so many memories, so much laughter, so many crazy adventures together, which is exactly why I always gave her that crazy name, Crazy Moi. You know Corinne, you know that there was never a dull moment with her. No matter what we were doing, she would make every moment unforgettable. One memory I have that we would never forget is when we drove to Pineville in my little Geo Metro car. It was very small. And halfway there, my heater stopped working and coolant started spilling into my car, and it was frigid and it was snowing outside. So we put our jackets on, we wore some blankets and pillows, we tried our best to stay warm. We were miserable. But somehow through all of it, we laughed so hard. We were complaining how we were freezing. And now I look back on that memory and that trip, and it definitely just described this perfectly. No matter how chaotic or disappointing a situation could be, we found a way to laugh about it together. And in the end, it was completely worth it because her pictures came out just as she was, beautiful inside and out. Driving home was still miserable, but it became one of those memories we would laugh about forever. Even during times when life pulled us in different directions and we didn't talk as much, whenever we reconnected, it was really like no time had passed at all. It was just like yesterday. It was so easy to pick up from where we left off. That's just how special our friendship was. Corinne had one of the biggest hearts of anyone I had ever known. She was the person that people would go to when they needed comfort or advice and encouragement, or someone to just listen. She was a shoulder to cry on. She was the life of the party. She was brilliant. She was goofy. She was athletic, adventurous, and someone who could lighten up a room without even trying. She had a gift for making people feel loved, accepted, and important. What makes me so proud of her is everything she overcame in her life. Things were not always easy for Corinne, but despite that, she continued to push forward with strength and determination. She graduated from Gallaudet University, she worked there, and she touched the lives of so many people, students and other people around her. The impact she made on others will never be forgotten. I feel incredibly lucky and honored that she chose me to be one of her best friends. Her love and support carried me through some of the hardest moments in my life. And I will never forget and will always be forever grateful for every memory that we shared together. Corinne, I hope you know how truly loved you were, even though you're no longer here with us physically. Your love, your laughter, and your spirit will always stay with us forever. I miss you more than you know, more than words can explain. And one day, when we meet again, I will run to you with the biggest smile on my face and arms stretched wide open to give you the biggest hug. I love you forever, crazy moi.
Hello, everybody. My name is Arlene Ingal. So I was very close friends with Corinne. Very, very hard for me to be up here and talk about her right now. So I'm going to go ahead and just share a story and a memory. So how we first met was actually during a theater production hosted by Gallaudet. And our roles were different roles, meaning that our rehearsals didn't overlap. We didn't see each other during the rehearsal process. So, there were some folks who, 1 week before the show, several members of the cast dropped out, and it led to Corinne and I becoming co-stars, and which was very unexpected, but we made it work. We hit it off immediately. The show lasted for 2 nights, and on the first night, we absolutely owned the stage. We made it seem like we had known each other for years. Our chemistry was just that good. But in fact, we had just met. The second night, we were both really exhausted from the show, from the first show, and we had decided to drink a Red Bull, which was a huge mistake. We both felt jittery and nervous when we were on stage, and on stage, we performed just as well as the previous night. But behind the scenes, we were so dramatic and anxious about it. But we owned the floor and we owned the stage. So like I said, we were so dramatic and so anxious about the whole thing. But again, it's just one of my favorite memories, looking back. It's emblematic of our friendship, growing and trusting, developing that trust and that connection and supporting each other and depending on one another. That was the moment where our friendship really, really locked in. And after that, we decided to go on a backpacking trip to Puerto Rico. And we worked with deaf children and empowered them by teaching them how to perform a script, actually. Corinne was superb at working with these deaf students and fostering their creativity. The third, working with Corinne was just fantastic. She was just one of the most superb people that I've ever known. That's just one of my favorite memories of Corinne, was really the play in Puerto Rico and spending that time with her. My third memory I want to share is more of a life lesson. Corinne made sure that she always made sure that I knew that. She reminded me of this all the time. But when situations came up and we were talking about life, she would always give me her opinion, and she would refer to this piece of she would have like an outline on a piece of paper and really break things down with such a level of detail. She was just so skilled at that. And she always was able to really illustrate and emphasize my rights and remind me of my rights as a deaf person. She was just so talented at that. You know, she was a creative thinker, and her ideas had the potential to change the world. You know, her heart was so generous. She had such a beautiful heart and was such a remarkable person. She loved to give back to the community. She loved to work with others and also take care of animals as well. You know, there are many things that I miss about her. And, you know, heaven has truly gained an incredible angel. I'll love you always, Corinne.
Hi everyone, my name is Daisy Staub, and I had the privilege of being Corinne's friend for over 30 years. As much as I would love to be here with you all today, I unfortunately cannot, but I'm thankful for technology these days that allows me to at least be there virtually and to share how much Corinne meant to me. Making this video is emotionally hard, and it hits me like that first day I found out. Very hard. That's not what we're here for right now. We're here to celebrate her life. She lived a beautiful life, and we're here to celebrate her. I've been thinking hard of what I want to say today, and there's really lots to share about her. 30 years is a very long time. I could go on for an hour, but I'm going to make this short and sweet. I want to share what we always bring up from time to time. Believe it or not, when we first met at Camp Palaia State in Oregon, around 9 or 10 years old, I honestly didn't like her that much. She was very cocky, egotistical, she had an attitude, she was overconfident, she was competitive, and I still remember her telling me to get off the swing one day because she could jump further than I could. And then when I was about 13, my family moved to Oregon. I walked into my classroom and there she was sitting there. I remember thinking to myself, oh no, not her. But somewhere in those next few weeks, everything changed. We became instant best friends, and from that point on, Corinne became one of the greatest friends I've ever had. When we became best friends, my family took Corinne like one of our own. She was at our house many weekends, and she was like a sister to me. If you knew Corinne, you knew exactly what kind of friend she was. One who always had your back. She was that friend. She loved animals, not just her own, but yours too. She was that friend. A friend who was always ready for adventures, road trips, memories, and fun. She was that friend. And no matter how much time passed between conversations or visits, we could always pick right back up where we left off. Those kinds of friendships are rare. 30 years of friendship is a lifetime of memories. Corinne was part of my childhood, my teenage years, and my adult life. And I will always carry those memories and pieces of her with me. Always. I truly hope she knew how deeply she was loved and how many lives that she touched simply by being herself. And after all those 30 years, thank you for being that friend. I love you, Corinne, always. name's Melcy. I'm the overnight staff, and I worked with Corinne in the dorms.
Hi, my name is Joan. I also worked with her in the dorms.
Hello, my name is Zamika. I worked with Corinne as an RE, and I was also her college friend.
Hey everybody, my name is Brenda, and I've worked in the dorm for 53 years.
I'm Ina Harrison, and I worked as an RE with Corinne since 2017.
So this poem was actually created by Corinne's work family, and we all worked closely with Corinne. The name of the poem is actually called Corinne's work family, or Corinne.
C. Constructive. She always liked to keep things going in an orderly fashion. If things weren't going well, she was amazing at accommodating and making things work.
O. Open-minded. She was able to work with anybody. She always listened to everybody. I learned a lot about her.
R. Resilient. When things got hard, she kept going. I will always remember our trip to Puerto Rico. Corinne, Arlene, and myself were hiking one really steep peak, and it was not easy. We couldn't really talk at all during the process. We just had to keep working to get there. And once we got there, we were laughing and just chatting, even though we were exhausted. When things got hard, we would laugh. So that's a memory I'll always carry with me going forward.
I, or intuitive. She always was willing to step in and without hesitation if something was wrong.
And nutrition. Corinne and I always share conversations about nutrition and health. She believed in human and animal equality and eating healthy foods. Except for her occasional favorite treat, a bag of flips, white fudge covered pretzels during her break. So she always had those handy.
N is for neat. So Corinne liked to be very organized. Her desk was always very, very, very clean. If there was a sign of dust or dirt, she wouldn't give up until it was completely clean.
E for electronics. I know nothing about technology, and she was incredibly tech savvy. So she would often scold me because my problems were because I hadn't updated my computer, and she would remind me that I need to update my laptop.
So in closing, I wanted to say thank you all for coming today. We're always going to remember Corinne for her hard work, kind heart, her love for furry pets. And I will never forget how many lives she touched, and she'll never be forgotten. Take life free, Corinne.
First, I want to thank Gallaudet and everyone who made this celebration of life possible. Wow, just wow. We're humbled by all the people who were touched by you. From all the correspondence, the cards, social media, everything we receive. It's evident that my daughter has become a caring, loving person. I know many, if not all, of you have endearing stories about how Corinne was involved in your lives. So, this being a celebration of life, let me show you a story of a little girl, my daughter, in 1989. Corinne was born in Covina, California, and lived her childhood years in Los Angeles. In 1990, we went on a family vacation to Washington State to introduce Corinne and Karen to my grandparents. Yes, Corinne got to meet her great grandparents in her lifetime. Now, my grandparents lived in a small farming community in Bryant on a plot of land. Of course, they always had a big garden. First, it had to be explained to Corinne that the kitchen stove was always hot because it was a wood-fired stove. And one morning after breakfast, Corinne went to the window and saw my grandfather digging and asked, "What's he doing?" I said, "Well, go out and look." So after a few moments, she comes back into the house all excited and proclaims, "Mom, Mom, there's food in the ground." This is the little girl I choose to remember here today. I pray she has found peace.
Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming to celebrate the celebration of life for Corinne. Corinne was my firstborn child. I knew she was going to be stubborn when she was in no hurry to enter the world. She liked things her way, and she didn't care if you liked it or not. When Corinne was 3 years old, we went to the mall where I started teaching her to be strong and to not let her deafness hold her back in life. I wrote a note saying, "I am deaf and I want to order a hot dog on a stick, please." I stood up. I stood off to the side and watched her. She came back and I asked her, "Where's the change?" She went back and got it. I think I created a monster. The only thing she couldn't do was hear. Corinne loved sports like basketball and softball and soccer. She was a force to be reckoned with on and off the field. While at one of her softball games around the age of 5 or 6 or 7, I heard two men talking about her saying, "That little girl is deaf. Watch her play. She is great." She far passed my expectations in life. She earned 2 degrees, got herself a great job, and even bought a house. She was living the American dream. Sadly, she suffered from depression, and her life went downhill fast. If you suffer from depression, please seek help quickly. Don't be scared to get the help you need. Your family and friends love having you around. It says in Psalms 34:18, "The Lord is near the brokenhearted and saves those who are crushed in spirit." Thank you all for your prayers and condolences.
Hi, my name is Melissa. I'm Corinne's sister. I'm actually speaking for 3 different people today, including myself. So, first from my Aunt Sharon. She says, I want to thank everybody that worked so hard putting Corinne's celebration of life possible today. Corinne will be missed by many and will have a special place in my heart. Rest in peace, my sweet niece. This next one is from my brother, Corinne's brother too. And he says this: Corinne was a very independent person, and I value that in her, and in many ways emulate that to this day, and will continue to do so. I will keep that and her in my memory for as long as I live. No matter what you go through and no matter what happens in life, just remember that no feeling is final. There will always be a tomorrow, and there will always be someone that loves you and cares for you, regardless of anything that is happening to you or is happening in the world. Thank you. And now for my words, my speech. So first off, I'd like to thank everyone who donated to the GoFundMe for both my family and Corinne's pets, or had sent money through Venmo to me and my mother for us to be here and to help with a lot of the costs. So from the bottom of my heart, thank you for anyone who's done that. In addition, I want to thank the Laurent Clerk National Deaf Education Center, and especially Deb, Katie Wiley, and Kendra Rose for organizing this memorial. So I myself am an avid reader, and there's a trope in a lot of stories called found family, where the character in a story, through their journeys, finds people who they become so close with, it's like a second family. And the deaf community is my sister's found family. There's no greater group of people who is more caring and supportive of their own than the deaf community. I thank you all for being the pillars of strength and the place my sister called home throughout her life. Without my sister, I would quite literally not be standing here today. Had she not ran out and to play and disobeyed my mother at a young age, as she often did, to go play outside and bring my father over to meet my mother, I would never have been born. So I'm thankful for that. There's so many things in my life that are thanks to her. One of those things is my favorite food, which is artichoke, which she cooked for me when I was a kid. My brother and I, our love of video games started because one Christmas, she got me a GameCube and my brother a PlayStation 2. And we both still play video games to this day, and so did she. But one of my favorite memories with my sister is when I was 10 years old, she paid to fly me down to Sacramento, California, where she took me to a water park and Six Flags in Vallejo. And at Six Flags, she won me these 4 giant stuffed animals that she put into duffel bags so that I could fit them on the plane. And I remember the stewardess had a lot of trouble getting them into the overhead compartments. But I also remember crying on the plane back because I was so sad to leave her after having so much fun. And that's something that she just loved to do, was have fun. My sister would give you the shirt off of her back if you needed it. My sister was a giving person, even at the detriment of herself. She stood up for others when they couldn't stand up for themselves. Whether that was people or animals, she cared, and she was willing to fight. And boy, did she love to fight. In a world where she couldn't hear, she made sure she was heard. And I am truly blessed to have had 32 years with my sister. I love you, Sissy Pooh, and thank you.
Hello, everybody. My name is Anna Ramick, and I'm the Director of Operations at the Clare Center.
Hello, my name is Stephen Farias, and I am the superintendent of both Kendall and MSSD. So firstly, I'd like to thank everybody for being here today, and for those of you watching from the live stream as well. I want to share our deepest condolences and appreciation to Corinne's family, friends, staff, dorm staff, teachers, the entire school community. Thank you for being here today. Corinne was a constant presence in the lives of our students. She was someone who showed up day after day. She supported our students in one of the most personal spaces that we had for them, our MSSD dorm, our students' second home, their home away from home. Dorm staff at MSSD carry a very unique responsibility and sense of duty. Many students' homes are in states far away, and Corinne worked tirelessly to ensure that these students felt seen, felt like they belonged, and felt safe, and that the dorm was their home. I will always cherish Corinne and I's bonding, because she was one person who was not afraid to come up to me and discuss different issues or topics and ideas when necessary, especially when it comes to how to make the students' experience at MSSD the best it could be. She valued the students so deeply. She was never satisfied. Even when things were going great at the dorm, she's still thinking on how we could do things better, how we could make students' experiences the best experience possible. So I'll always cherish those conversations that we had. So I'll always value that. And another thing that we always bonded on was our love of shoes. We both collect shoes. So we would share stories, talk about where we were going shopping, new shoes that were releasing. We also both had an affinity for collecting cards. We both had our own collectibles. So we'd discuss values, how we were trading, our collectibles, etc. We both had that sense of never being satisfied. We always were shooting for growth and improvement, and collecting things that made our heart happy. My moments with Corinne reminded me of people in our community that really impact our lives in many ways, and we don't realize, or in unexpected ways.
Corinne's passing has really impacted us very deeply. It has felt really real to everybody here.
So going forward, I would love us to lean on each other the way that Corinne would have wanted us to.
And really, this reminds us all of Corinne's impact and her impact, and really the impact that one person can have on a community. The stories, the memories, the laughter, and reflections shared today really speak to a life that touched so many people in so many meaningful ways. To the family, I want to say, please let them know the Clare Center community stands with you. Thank you for sharing Corinne with us. The lives that she touched will never be forgotten, never. And we're thankful and grateful to celebrate Corinne's life alongside you. With that being said, it is time to close this memorial service. However, we would like to invite all of you to join us to Dorm 6, just across the street, for a reception. It's just across the street to the left. Again, I want to thank all of you for being here today to honor Corinne's memory. And remember, Corinne will be forever remembered and forever missed, and we'll love you always.
We love you, Corinne.
Again, thank you all for being here. We
Thank
love
you.
you all.
Love you all.